Hi guys, it's Jason from Liberty Bunker. So the dust is just starting to settle after a busy week at the European Union. We have Ursula von der Leyen, who is quite likely to be the next president of the European Commission. Now that's not set in stone yet. It will still have to go to a vote at the European Parliament, but it's quite likely it will be von der Leyen. And we also have former IMF chief Christine Lagarde, who is now set to be the president for the European Central Bank. So let's take a look at some newspaper websites. Who are these people behind the names? So we have this from the New York Times. Who got EU's top jobs? The first woman to lead the EU's huge bureaucracy, Germany's centre-right defence minister Ursula von der Leyen will be returning to the city of her birth, Brussels, once she's confirmed to lead the European Union's most important institution and her father's former workplace, the European Commission. A medical doctor and economist by training, she's a member of Chancellor Angela Merkel's Christian Democrats. She's likely to bring further for more European integration to the job, music to the ears of much of her 32,000 strong staff of bureaucrats, but less so to sceptical leaders in countries like Hungary and Poland who would like to keep their nation's priorities front and centre. Ms von der Leyen served as Germany's first and so far only female defence minister and had previously served in social policy roles like Minister of Family Affairs, working in several of Ms Merkel's cabinets. Her goal of a more integrated Europe, she told the German weekly Die Zeit in 2005 that she wanted her grandchildren to live in a United States of Europe. Could prove difficult to achieve at a time when a small but important part of the bloc wants to hold back. She's also expressed support for the idea of a European army and rather extreme position even amongst so-called federalists who would like to see some national institutions phase out and replaced with European Union ones. So we have a real federalist here, someone that wants a United States of Europe, someone that's pushing for the EU army. Now, obviously, the New York Times is sceptical about this. Yes, there's big resistance from countries like Poland, like Hungary, the UK, but hopefully the UK is leaving, so it won't be so much of a problem for the UK anymore. But this is a real federalist. She'll be in this position for 5 years. So it'll be really interesting to see in 5 years' time, when she's come to the end of her tenure in this position, what the European Union will look like. Will it have integrated into a full European army, a full European military? Will we see the start of a United States of Europe? This is something that von der Leyen really is pushing for. I think over the next 5 years, the next 5 years are going to be critical for the EU. It's quite likely the EU may have even collapsed in the next 5 years, but we have a real federalist, someone that is very pro the United States of Europe, something that some of the Eastern Bloc countries or Eastern European countries will be pushing back against. One of Ms von der Leyen's top priorities will be overseeing the implementation of some kind of Brexit, though she has laminated Britain's withdrawal from the European Union and said Britain has brought much needed pragmatism to Europe. Now, hopefully she won't be overseeing too much of this. She starts her position on the 1st of November. I mean, the UK is supposedly going to leave the European Union on the 31st of October. In my opinion, that the percentage chance of that happening is dwindling by the day. I say we've got no more than a 25% chance of leaving the European Union on the 31st of October. There's just too many hurdles in the way. It could be done. There's not the political will in this country. We don't have the parliamentary will. Even if Boris Johnson got it, I personally don't think that's going to happen. Maybe that's me being pessimistic. So hopefully von der Leyen doesn't have to oversee any kind of Brexit. Hopefully the UK will have left at least the day before, if not before that. But the sceptical side of me says the UK will still be in the European Union when Ms von der Leyen takes her position, which would be a sad state of affairs, but that just says more about UK politics than does about European politics. Now, with regards to Christine Lagarde, this is an interesting article on CNBC. Credibility risk. Market watchers give their verdict on Lagarde's ECB nomination. So we have some real sceptical people out there over Lagarde. Money managers and economists have offered their opinions on the nomination of Christine Lagarde as the European Central Bank's new president, noting her gravitas on the international stage, but her lack of experience on monetary policy. Eurozone bond yields tumbled on the news and defensive stocks rallied Wednesday morning as investors staked bets that the incoming head of the ECB will be a fan of low interest rates. Several market watchers have offered their take on Lagarde's appointment, with her lack of knowledge on monetary policy proving to be a recurring concern. In a note to clients on Wednesday, Jim Reed of Deutsche Bank said Lagarde carried a credibility risk given her inexperience with the ECB's complicated array of tools designed to encourage stable economic growth. Reed said market participants would like her political skills and connections, but suggested the central bank chief economist Philip Lane would now be expected to carry out the intellectual economic legwork. So a little bit talking down about Lagarde's track record there. I mean, I'm open to an open mind. You know, she has a lot of experience, especially within the IMF. But we'll continue with what other people are saying. Mark Heffel, possibly pronouncing that wrong, but Mark Heffel, we'll just go with Heffel, who acts as Chief Investment Officer at UBS Global Wealth Management, noted in his morning note to clients that Lagarde would be the first ECB president ever without any experience in monetary policy. Heffel said he still considered the IMF chief a qualified candidate, but her appointment didn't overly make Europe a more attractive place to invest. So some neutral to negative stuff coming out. You know, there are some positives in there as well. Berenberg's Holger Schmieding said Wednesday that Lagarde had proved her mettle in her French finance ministerial role and had displayed her ability to work well with Germany during the early days of the Eurozone debt crisis. Schmieding also highlighted that Lagarde's power in the role shouldn't be overestimated, and it was the 25-member ECB Governing Council that took key decisions on monetary policy and not solely the president. So, you know, I think Lagarde's not necessarily the worst choice, but there is obviously some questions why she may have got this position. Pictet's Frederic Ducrozet issued a note Wednesday that focused squarely on the positive aspects of Lagarde's nomination. The strategist said her experience, gravitas, and a likely continuation of Draghi's dovish stance should stand her in good stead among lawmakers and the investing community. Ducrozet also noted that Lagarde had always been supportive of ECB's unconventional policies, including outright monetary transactions and quantitative easing. So maybe that's the real answer there. We have a money printer, essentially, someone that's very happy with these extraordinary measures that the ECB and pretty much all Western central banks have been taking over the last few years. Quantitative easing, you know, increasing liquidity, essentially money printing for the layman's term. So maybe that's why she's got this position. They want a money printer essentially there in the central bank to ease when times get harder. You know, the European Union is in the Eurozone itself, especially is in a real sticky situation with the coming recession. You know, most European countries are on the brink of recession, if not already in it. You know, these ultra low interest rates can really help maybe avert that for the time being. So what are your thoughts and feelings on this? It's looking like we may very well have a president of the European Commission who is a staunch federalist. We may see the implementation of a European army over the next coming years. Don't forget, she's got 5 years to implement these things. If you look back how far we've come in the last 5 years, you know, there's been a lot more talk, a lot more integration. Good or bad, maybe you're pro-EU, maybe you're anti-EU, maybe you're a Eurosceptic. We have a money printer at the head of the ECB is confirmed. Von der Leyen may or may not get the European Commission presidency. Who knows? Who knows about that? It's probably quite likely to happen. You know, Germany and France want this. It's also quite interesting that all the senior jobs have gone to people from Western Europe. There's a lot of friction now towards Eastern European countries and Southern European countries, that these powerful jobs seem to be exclusively going to people from France, people from Germany. But this is essentially the old boys club. Maybe it's the old girls club now, because they're obviously giving out a lot of these jobs now to women, which on its own isn't a bad thing. But I expect there to be a lot of protests from countries like Italy, like Greece, the Polands and Hungaries of the world. So this is probably going to cause quite a bit of friction, you know, especially with a federalist possibly at the helm and a money printer running the ECB. So let me know your thoughts and feelings on this. Is this good choices from the European Union? Are these bad choices? Where do you think we'll be in 5 years' time with the state the European Union is going at the moment? So it's Jason from Liberty Bunkers signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.